What's good, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Pro and Bro Wrestling Podcast. We are your host. I'm Arnold Teliga Arda.
And I'm missing no days off, Fred Rosser. And today's been a day full of wrestlers. I had Titus, Diana Perrazzo, Kalisto, a plethora of my other friends doing a virtual school type back to school deal. And to get them all together was just like, it was like a summer school project. So it's been a day full of wrestlers, full of my close friends. This particular episode, another episode of like sitting under the learning tree, literally, because he's probably got one of the most brilliant minds in the business. He's got his own wrestling school, Creator Pro Wrestling Academy, which he should. Anyone in the Northeast area that's looking to get into the wrestling business, definitely check out none other than our guest, Brian Myers, formerly known as Kurt Hawkins. I always say, don't die with the story and you tell it, bro. So thank you for being on my podcast to share your story.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me. Thanks for saying all those things. And I'll try to surpass whatever Kalisto did for you. I'm sure you guys probably heard brain cells talking to him. So I'll try to rejuvenate them for you next time.
Don't talk about my friend Kalisto. Don't
Holy
talk about
smokes.
my friend.
Yep.
Yeah. No, but you're right. You're right. He was a handful, but thank God he came through for me. But you're spot on, bro. Don't start.
Yeah. He must have lived under power lines as a kid or something.
Oh.
First off, congrats, man, on being a two-time dad this year.
Thank you. Yeah.
Was the delivery room a little weird this time with the whole COVID situation?
Really, it wasn't like March, April, where like it was really bad in New York. We had a June baby, so it was a little more relaxed. Still a lot of precautions and a little, obviously very different than the first child. But really, the main concern was that I was going to be allowed to be there. And at one point in New York, you weren't even allowed to be there. So we were just grateful to be past that point, so we could both be in the delivery room. So that's all that really mattered to us. Healthy baby. My wife and I. That's all we needed.
Absolutely, man. And now you got two girls. Did you ever wanted a boy? Were you hoping the second one was gonna be a boy?
I literally only ever wanted a boy my entire life. I wanted to be a dad of a boy. Yeah. And my wife and I didn't. We didn't find out the sex. It was something that she thought would be fun to do. Something else I just never thought about. I said, okay. So with the first child, we wrote it out, the full, term, and then boom, this baby girl comes out in the living room, and I literally, Fred, the secret style made up in my mind that it can only be a boy. So then when it was a girl, I was like, what? I wish there was some kind of documentation of my face and how I sold it, because I couldn't believe it. But then I guess, the blessing in disguise is that I've loved having my daughter so much that I don't even care about having a boy anymore. It's literally something it's left my mind and my heart, I guess, a little bit. And then when we found out the next child was going to be a girl, I jumped up and did the Michael Jordan fist pump in the living room with my wife, because I was just so excited. I love being a girl dad so much.
So how are you holding up with this whole 2020 quarantine and everything? I know you're staying busy with the podcast. You guys just released a spin-off to that, the Figure Wrestling Federation. Congrats. But how are you holding up, man?
I'm a very positive person. I'm not really someone that just sits back and kind of woe is me kind of mentality. So obviously I don't think 2020 has gone as a lot of people have hoped and planned for, but I'm still trying to pull the positives out of it and keep living my life. It's as much as I can. Surprisingly, just did a week of TV for Impact that we did 8 episodes and a special. It's going to take us all the way to late October to the pay-per-view. So it's all filmed. And then in those weeks, I have a booking, at least one every weekend. So whether it's a signing or a show. So stuff's happening out there for pro wrestling. And then, like you said, on top of that, I have the podcast and being a family man and my school. So the world came crashing down and I was still very busy. So it's kind of crazy.
No, that's good. How many episodes do you guys shoot in one day for Impact?
It's different depending on the schedule. The first shoot I did was, what was it? It was we did 2 days, 6 episodes, and then this was 4 days, 8 episodes plus basically a pay-per-view that's going to be exclusive to the app, the Impact Plus app, where you have to, subscribe to get eyes on that. So pretty cool.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Hawkins, our journey started a long time ago, and I asked Ryder, you'll always be Hawkins to me. I mean, I just call people, some people by their real name.
Some of my
You
best friends in
know,
the whole world call me Hawkins. It is what it is.
I'm sorry,
No,
but do you remember?
I take zero offense to it. When people call me Kurt, then I'm like, ooh, they're probably not really my friend. Nobody calls me Kurt. Yeah.
But I asked Zach when we had him on our show. He was our 52nd episode, so it was like a milestone for me because like doing the podcast is therapeutic for me. I enjoy talking about wrestling. You
Yeah.
know me in the locker room, I'm very quiet, but to be able to be out of the WWE and be able to just talk about my experiences with my friends, it means the world to me. Do you remember the first time we met at any time in our career?
If I'm not mistaken, I think it's I knew who you were because I would see you on shows because you started a little bit before me and you had already kind of half made a name for yourself like in the Northeast, Bone Crusher, and but I think we didn't meet until Madison Square Garden
Yes.
as extras. Yeah, the one, and I know you were an extra a lot, and you were like Cool Hand Luke and me and Broski. It was the one and only time we were ever extras, and it was Madison Square Garden. It was the Super Show. It was the Raw and SmackDown rosters there. I mean, like Eddie Guerrero, Hulk Hogan, like literally everyone you could think of in WWE in 2005 is at this show. And like, we are just wide-eyed. Like, I think we're 19, literally like scared to death. And then I remember at one point we were in catering. You were like, stick with me. I've done this millions times. Like, just follow my lead. We're like, oh, okay. We're just so nervous. And so I think it's the first time we met.
Yeah, well, don't come across like I was trying to big league you guys.
No, you're taking care of us.
Yeah, I was there. Like I was there when there were times I wasn't supposed to be there. Dr. Tom Pritchard, who we all love, would always say, anytime WWE was in the Northeast back in 2004 and 5, just show up, and if you work, you get paid. If you don't, you're not going to demand for pay. So I would I would always be there, and I would just look out for the people that always had that it factor. So like, how was your experiences getting into Deep South? Like, when you think of Deep South, what's like one word that describes it?
Mayhem, maybe. I don't know. I mean, anyone who would ask me about Deep South and like the interviews I've been doing and stuff, I just keep saying Dark Side of the Ring, Deep South Wrestling would be a can't miss episode for like so many reasons. If you get the voice to really open up and tell like the funny ass stories that went down, the lunacy that went down, like just all under the WWE's umbrella, which makes it even more insane. Like, it didn't feel like we were in WWE. It was like this like outlaw renegade promotion, just did whatever the hell it wanted,
But you stuck with it, you know what I mean? Like, I would have probably definitely stuck with it because we love this business so much.
Like I said, we were just so wide-eyed, so green. If Bill DeMott told us to jump, we did it. Like it was what it was. And I look back on it now as like a seasoned veteran. It was kind of ridiculous because it was like every day was your tryout. Like it wasn't like you have your tryout and then you get signed and then you're there. It was a tryout atmosphere every day, doing push-ups, running, sprints, insane amount of bumps per day that like nobody in their wrestling career should ever take because it's just not good for someone's body and health, and just wild stuff. And then on the flip side, like I was saying, we worked hard as hell and then we partied hard as hell. It was literally like they would never book shows, so you do the TVs Thursday night, you train, you come in Friday hungover as hell, and get that Friday practice. And then like when you got let go of that Friday practice, it was literally like high school. Like Friday when you leave, you kick open the doors like it's the weekend, and we all just like, and then we became such good friends because there was so much camaraderie, and we just like partied and hung out, and we were in the trenches together doing all this crazy shit. So it was this hell of an experience. I look back on it like, the older I get, the more and more I just kind of like shake my head thinking about like, how did I do that? Like sometimes we'd be squatting to like infinity, and like Zach would literally recite out loud the WWE Championship history because he was so just like, because you just like have to like black out. Like it's so hard and physically demanding. But he'd be like, Rock beat Mankind, Mankind beat Rock. And he's like squatting and he's going through a whole lineage just to like take his mind somewhere else because it was so hard.
Yeah, that's
just the way it was.
With that being said, you got signed to WWE really early in your career. I think you guys were 20. You and Matt got signed together, and just within the first few years, you guys accomplished a lot. Winning the SmackDown Tag Team Championships, main eventing with Edge at WrestleMania. How did you handle that pressure? Was that something that you thrived on, or did you feel like it was too much?
It was weird. Like now in my career, I feel pressure, but back then I think I was just so new and scared. And it was also like, like you said, there was a lot fast and early on. So you almost think like, oh, it's never going to end. This is just my first Mania. And not, like
Yeah.
you don't realize how blessed you are. I mean, we didn't take it for granted. We were more concerned about like messing up, and we were just working hard, doing what we were told, instead of like, realizing that, whoa, dude, we're at this major pay-per-view and it's the world title. And, I was just honestly so blessed to learn. Like Edge, Adam Copeland, he agreed to that storyline with literally not even knowing who Matt and I were. So it was kind of crazy. So we owe so much to him. And then, so for him to say yes to two stranger kids that he has no clue who they are in the first place is nuts. And then we had the privilege of just like learning from him. He's literally in 2008, he's the best wrestler in the whole world. A 5-tool player that can do like anything, have epic matches. He's the champion. He's incredible performer, incredible on the microphone. Just he can do it all. And we're literally watching him do it, 4 days a week on the road. Like it's just a world-class education in pro wrestling that I'll just be forever grateful for. Really shaped my whole career.
Yeah. And I know you've been a lifelong fan, just as I have. I'm 33 now. I started watching wrestling when I was like 4, never grew out of it. I know that's like the case for you. So when you were in the locker room, like, did you take a moment to step back and you're like, wow, like Undertaker passed by? Or did you have to keep it all in and you couldn't mark out?
Back then, and I think Fred could attest to this, unfortunately, back then there was more of like a bully mentality, and you really couldn't show your true colors. You really couldn't, like, we're not gonna walk in and tell Bob Holly that we just bought his action figure at Toys R Us. Like, that's just not gonna fly. It's just the way it was. It was like an older generation. I talked about this with Tommy Dreamer out loud. I was like, guys your age, your generation, which was a lot of the age of the guys that were on the roster when we started. So if they were a wrestling fan as a kid, like you and I were, right, to be more than just a wrestling fan and watching on TV, what was there for them? Maybe just the magazines, black and white wrestling magazines, to kind of romanticize about this thing they're into. Guys our age grew up with video games and toys and bed sheets and stuffed animals, like literally anything to like just indulge into this product and love it to death, So it's just different. So like Tommy Dreamer's no more or less a mark than me. It's just we grew up with a different, acceptance of wrestling, So like you get to that locker room, these dudes are a lot more hardened than I was. Or I was like, it's not okay to like just say you love this to death, because I do, but we quickly realized that, we're not gonna, you can only kind of show your true colors to your real friends, and everyone else, it just was business. So we kept the marking out. Now we actually mark out on our podcast, like just telling old stories and stuff, about, oh my God, we did this,
Yeah.
Whatever.
You guys had a successful, tag team run as the Major Brothers. During that time, did you ever consider down the line that it was going to be the Major Brothers forever, or did you know down the line eventually you guys are going to have solo careers?
I don't know about forever. Obviously, Matt and I both wanted to be singles wrestlers from Jump Street, and we were just thrown together at wrestling school by Mikey Whipwreck, which was a blessing. But when you don't know anything, you're like, oh well, I want to be the world champion. But obviously, we were better together for a long time until we learned more. And so I had always thought about being a singles wrestler, but when we were like going as a tag, I wasn't thinking about it then. Like, when's this going to end? I don't know. Early in my career, I guess you're just naive. I don't know. I wasn't thinking about, oh, this is going to end soon. I probably should have, or saved more of my money that I had back then, things like that. I just wasn't like thinking like that. I was living in the moment, I guess. So that's probably my bad, but it is what it is.
One of the things that I like about you, Brian, is your wrestling gear. You have a lot of shout outs in your wrestling gear. Like you mentioned back when WWE days, your H for Hawkins was inspired by Triple H. And currently right now your tights has that little edge design. Yeah. So like referring back to me as a kid, I used to wear my mom's spandex, and I used to get a Sharpie, and I would like draw like little broken hearts because I wanted to be Shawn Michaels really bad. So did you ever like, two questions? Did you ever do that as a kid, like making your own gear, pretending to be another wrestler? And do you have a wrestling gear design in mind for the future that gives a shout out to the old days?
Yeah, sure. So all kinds of outfits when I was a kid, and I would like wrestle like the wrestling buddies in my living room to death. A big thing that my mom still talks about this day, and I still have it, was like my godmother bought, really looking back on it, it's like a satin, like sexy purple robe from like a lingerie store. But they bought it for me when I was like 5 or 6 to wear because I thought I was cool and I was a wrestler, and I would wear it like this purple robe. And then I would take it off and challenge my wrestling buddies and wrestle them on the floor and stuff. So that I still have it to this day. And I got to the point where I remember my friends would come over and we'd wrestle like in the living room, and like whoever won got to be the guy to wear the robe and stuff. And it was a big deal. Wow. And so tons of, reimagining as a kid. And I switched to the long tights, the Bret Hart styles tights, and there's so much real estate there. The thing, and I have no problem admitting this, I feel like in wearing that outfit, I could wrestle till I'm 70 because it hides my physique so much. You know what I mean? I feel like I'll just become like timeless almost. So there's that. Never really been, a body guy like Fred, So there's that aspect of it, which I love. And then also there's so much real estate that the options for creativity, like you said, like to like do original designs, do shout outs to, wrestlers of the past that I admire and stuff. So, and I have a really cool one that I can't disclose exactly. I can give a hint, but for Bound for Glory, for Impact, I have a TNA legend inspired version that I'm very excited about. That's being made right now.
I think the world got robbed from seeing you wearing your Juicing Thunder Liger at WrestleMania, man.
Yeah. Fortunately, shout out to TTD. He does all our designing, and he's like basically the backbone of the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast. He designs all the pins and all the cool T-shirts and everything that makes us seem cooler than we really are. That design, I came up with that because Liger was supposed to go into the hall, and I just thought it'd be so cool. And he knocked it out of the park, and it was so cool. And then obviously things didn't turn out that way. But really, all I have to do is get it remade where, that H is an M, and I could wear it, at some point down the line for sure. It's definitely in my back pocket.
The one thing about Hawkins is there's so many ways that we can go with this conversation. But your wrestling school, how long has it been open? And like off the top of my head, do you see any prospects that like we should maybe keep an eye on? Again, we go all over the place with the pockets, no format, and like, concussions, man. So you know how it is.
So Pat Buck and I co-opened the school in March 2014. So it's been 6.5 years. We produced MJF, you see every week on AEW from scratch. We produced Chris Statlander, who was on it every week till she unfortunately she tore ACL a couple weeks back, so she'll be out for a little bit. And then we have a ton of prospects, like people I'm very proud of. I think the next big like homegrown star that we have is going to be this guy named Max Caster. Super talented. He can rap and freestyle. And
yes. I've seen him. Yes,
he's incredible. He's like a ring general, like very almost like too confident. He's very good. He's in which I think is a real feather in one's cap for pro wrestling. I think confidence is key, and he's got that. So I think he's going to be the next one to really break out. We have a ton of guys, ton of students. We were pre-COVID. We were like rocking on all cylinders, like as many people we had there. Plus, we have a lot of like what I call castaways, people from other schools that come to our school and we're like, ooh, this place, this is a positive, awesome learning place, and then they get polished up by me and Pat and continue their career as well.
Yeah. I think it's really cool that, naturally as a gifted wrestler that you're able to pass it on as a good teacher, because not a lot of people that can actually teach. And I think WWE can see that in you, because there was a time that I think it was The Rock, right, that requested to have you to get him back in ring shape. So how was that experience, man?
It was like unbelievable. It was really the story I heard, because obviously I had nothing to do with the decision, but it was Triple H suggested me and Joe Hennig to be the two good hands, and we were just like on call. It was crazy. Like wherever he was
Hell
filming
yeah.
movies, we'd be on call to go. Like I know for sure one time I got a call like maybe like 9 at night, and they're like, you have a 6 a.m. flight to Miami and a 6 p.m. home, and like we just went and like
Wow.
just they build a ring in some warehouse, and we just waited for him, and whatever he wanted to do, he wanted to do. Some days we went at it and we'd wrestle. Some days we just took cool photos for his Instagram and stuff. Or sometimes he's so busy he like had to cancel. And me and Joe would just go home. Like we were literally like his on call like bumping buddies. And I guess the best part of the whole thing about it is that like he is the man, the coolest. Like you're around him and you go, okay, I completely understand why this guy's like a megastar, because the way he is and the way he carries himself and the way he thinks. So it was just a very cool experience, man. It's just one of those things I've never thought I would have done,
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And you actually also got to play the agent role too in WWE for a little bit. Did you enjoy that?
I loved it. Yeah. About 2 years ago, I got hernia, and I kind of just thought I'd be off. It was September, so I was like, "Ooh, football's starting. This is great." I had been on the road. I've been on the road with WWE like over 2 years straight by that point. Like with the full real deal schedule. So I was like, "This is a." Once I realized it was just hernia, I didn't know what was wrong with me, but it was just that, and it's a 2-month kind of recovery time thing. I was like, okay, no big deal. And then they called me back and said that Vince said he saw my name on the injury report and he'd like me to start learning that side of the business. So it wasn't really an opportunity I felt like I could turn down or would be smart to turn down. And it was cool. It's definitely something that I would love to do one day, but I think being an in-ring competitor is such a privilege. And, one day my body's going to tell me that I can't anymore, but if I'm in my prime and I feel great, and I'm still young, there's no way I'm not doing that. Just because I can be a producer, there's no way, And I did the 2 months. The day I got cleared, I went to Vince and said, "Hey, this has been an unbelievable experience. Like, I appreciate it. I'm flattered. I learned a lot, but I could do this for you when I'm 60, not when I'm 33.
Yeah, there you go.
So I
there
said,
you go.
please let me back to
Yeah.
to be doing what I do. But it was great. I love wrestling, man. I love all odds and ends of pro wrestling, all sides of it. I love I even with my school, like I have to like book shows because I can't just be like, hey, promoter, book 12 of my students, and it's just not realistic. So I had to start running shows. So I book those shows. I produce on those shows. I'm kind of writing those shows, and I'm active wrestler on those shows. So I'm a coach. Like I got my hand in like every aspect of it. So.
And you're also in turmoil, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Which I kind of. Because I feel like I've done that, because of the real booking with Creative Pro, I feel like I have a leg up on Broski in that because I'm kind of, being more, or maybe a leg down because I'm being more realistic and he's doing like fantasy things like that probably wouldn't happen. But
I watched the draft video. That was intense, man. I was like, oh, is he gonna get?
Freddie, you might have to watch that when you get some free time. Wild.
Why? What do you mean?
So Matt and Brian, they started their own figure wrestling federation where it's like a legit wrestling show, but it's all action figures. And just like Raw and SmackDown, they have their own 2 shows, and they had a video where they did the drafting, which wrestler is gonna go to which show, and it's all bone crunching and some WCW figures.
Yeah. So we basically did a bonus podcast for our Patreons, like where we fantasy drafted some wrestling figures, and then people loved it. Then it escalated to we fantasy booked the show if they were on it, and it just got so out of hand that now we have the spin-off show. But to start the spin-off show, we had this draft and we put it on YouTube and on our feed. And if you like laughing at Matt Cardona, this is it's intense. It gets very intense.
Going back to wrestling, right when everyone got released, unfortunately in April, and everyone's wondering, oh, where are they gonna go? Was Impact always your first choice?
I don't know. I was so shocked, and I just signed a 5-year contract, and like I said, I'd been a producer. I was like all in on being with WWE for a long time. So it wasn't even in my radar. Obviously, I was aware of Impact. I was watching Impact. I was aware of AEW. I was watching every week because I just love wrestling and I love like knowing what's going on. And I was very happy that they were doing better and like thriving, and there was options for the boys, and I mean getting people these contracts and stuff basically because they exist. Yeah. So I was very grateful of it, but it was so far from my mind that I'd be fired that I hadn't even I hadn't even thought of it.
Yeah. But obviously you were successful in your first run and back in the TNA days, former TNA tag team champion. How do you want this run to be different than your first run?
I also, like I've said in a couple interviews, and I have no problem admitting it. Like I eventually, like, I sold out. Like I got offered an astronomical amount of money, not knowing what, like, or knowing. All I knew is I was going to get paid this money. I did not know, like, you can't control your push in WWE or your situation. You're almost like powerless. And I was basically going and doing main event matches every week, leaving and doing my podcast with Broski, and that was the give and take. Like maybe work became just work, and my podcast is like where I had fun and could let loose and be creative and things like that. So at least I had that outlet. I wasn't just like a shell of a man. But I totally understood like what my position was at WWE, and it is what it is. In being let go, now I'm kind of like, well, this is almost like the silver lining of it all to me is that I can really have a chance to solidify my career like in the ring, and now I can go to these places, have awesome matches, or even just the few TVs I've done with Impact. I've already done things that I'm so proud of, and a side of me that like people have been fans of mine for years probably could never get to see because I'm just doing my job at WWE that didn't really entail being a big star. It was making other stars look better, and that was what my purpose was, and that's okay. I understood that, and I was good at it. But I'm so passionate about wrestling, and I feel I'm very good at it, and I can show people that, So that's why I'm like, okay, maybe I'm not making this insane amount of money, but sometimes it's like, who cares? Especially if you love something, you're passionate about it. Like I'm going to still live my life and be very happy, and now at least I'm going to have this chance to, when I'm done wrestling, like look back and say, okay, I had a lot more meaningful career, and
Yeah,
that's important to me.
absolutely.
Arnold, I'm like the white version of Kurt Hawkins because our mindsets are very similar. We were both trained in the Northeast, but our mindsets are very similar. This is a good question. I like to ask some of the guys who have a great mind in the business like you. Uh, Maybe the prime of your career in WWE, who's your favorite producer to work with? Because for me, it was always Fit Finlay. Because Fit Finlay, I'm like, Fit, what do you want out of the match? Oh, just go and fight. You just go and fight. Someone like who I love, Mike Rotunda, but he would always find me and he wants to know every part of the match. So it would be nerve wracking for me because
Yeah.
I don't know a lot of the pieces going on. I would have to rely on Hawkins. If we're in a match, Hawkins got this same thing like Tyson Kidd.
Yeah.
But who are your favorite producers?
So when I first started Fit, Matt and I wrestled Fit like every night, like pretty much like for that whole Edge run, we'd be live events, it'd be Fit and like a partner against us, and that's like where I think like a lot of my learning really came from is like because Fit can tell you one thing, but to be in there and feel him physically do it,
Yes.
whole nother animal, and like he really shaped both our careers in that sense, like of making us like the workers that we became. So and he was the one back then, like obviously like verbalizing that information too, but now we're going out there and physically doing it. So just by default in that sense and that learning experience, he was my favorite back then. I grew to really love working with Jamie Noble because like
Yes.
God, I don't think he can read or write, but he could put
Yeah,
together
you're right.
like he's just gifted, man. Like he can put together a pay-per-view epic banger, like and he just has these like incredible
Yes.
ideas and
Yeah.
outside the box things that will get your wheel spinning a little bit more. Like that was always the flavor he'd bring to the table that I just love to pick his brain and stuff like that. I literally could go to him with a match and like this is too boring, and he can like help you spice it up. It's pretty cool. And then on the tail end, my favorite, to be honest with you, was Abyss. And simply because, not because he's a genius, he's great at his job and he's a very good producer, but he was a positive motivator. You know what I mean? Just that positive reinforcement. He's just so like, I mean, Fred can literally attest to this. Sometimes it's just like barely a wave. Thanks for like,
Yeah.
being in a pro wrestling match is the equivalent of being in a car accident. So like
Yeah.
for someone barely acknowledge your performance after is kind of ignorant.
Yeah. Yeah.
We had TJ on the podcast last week, and I was posting about it this week, and I got real emotional. Like, I'm a grown man, but I got emotional when he talked about like the respect of his peers and like being able to be in the ring with someone, and then after that experience, them looking at him differently. Like, man, this guy's the real deal. And I experienced that last year with Sean Spears. I was on a show with him in Phoenix, and when he came back from the curtain, he said, "Man, I needed that," and it was those words that meant the world to me, because like the fans are great, but nothing like the respect of your peers, man. And we're guys that have had different paths in our career. We never main evented anything, but we truly love the business. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, it's just incredible.
Yeah, that to me, literally, you could have a Twitter feed full of my fans telling me I'm the absolute shits and the worst wrestler ever. But if the boys in the back love me and everyone wants to work with me, then that's all that really matters, Because at the end of the day, like you said, we're putting each other's livelihood in each other's hands, So that trust and that kind of thing is pretty damn important. It's the be all end all, I think, in the business. So, like you said, it does mean a lot.
Yeah. Earlier you said that when you were with WWE, you were working short matches and main event, and the stuff that was getting you through was doing the podcast and things like that. And it was so refreshing to see your Impact debut, because
Yes.
it was really cool, because right off the bat you cut a promo to the world champion, and you had a world championship match, and it was refreshing to see you wrestle for as long as I did in that match, because it has been a while since you wrestled. I think like past like 5 minutes, and like you did such an amazing job, and I think you got to showcase a little taste of what Brian Myers is all about and what's more to come. How did that feel for you, man?
It was great. I mean, that's all I've ever really, wanted was an opportunity. I think, in WWE, a decent amount of time ago, Vince just labeled me like a good hand, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it's not a good thing
Hell
either.
no.
He
Hell
knew,
no. Hell no.
no, but he knew, like, and it literally became a thing. Like if someone was up from NXT to do a dark match, he'd say, "Well, put him with Hawkins. He's a good hand," like because he wants to see this person in their best form of themselves. And he picked me to do that because he knew I could get the best effort out of this guy. So that's flattering in a way, but he's not seeing me as like, man, Hawkins can take out Roman Reigns one day. He's not seeing that. So that's the flip side. That's the problem. So obviously he liked me and respected me, but didn't see me as this star. So now that I'm getting this chance, with a whole new set of eyes on me to show what I can do, it's just awesome. It's all I've ever wanted to do. So even right off the bat, I got cool vignettes that I helped kind of shape and design and kind of discuss. It wasn't like this is what we're doing. It was like, well, this is what we're thinking. What do you want to do? Which is a whole new world from coming from WWE. It's great. This thing called compromise. What a thought. Like it's so cool that we can collaborate and compromise and come up with things and so there's that. Then my first match is, 2 segs of the world champion, going balls to the wall.
Yeah.
Incredible. Like all I've ever asked for. And then even this week, my last thing is basically a shoot promo I got to do. Is one take going nuts and, showing the world that I can perform on that side, the microphone side. So already in two outings, I'm already doing a lot more meaningful stuff than I was doing in years in WWE. So, and it's not their fault. It's not my fault. It's just a different situation, and I'm happy to be in.
Do you think the Kane is gonna come back this time around?
So, the Kane stemmed from just me being a huge Brian Pillman fan, and I always loved when he debuted in ECW and the lights went out and they came back on. He had the cane in the air. I just thought it was so badass. And then Freddie and I were actually on that like the deathbed of NXT where like Tom Castiello was writing it, and we could kind of do whatever we wanted. We kind of could do whatever we wanted because nobody cared or watched or anything.
Yes.
Except the few people that watched it like online and stuff. So I was like, hey, I want to start coming out with a cane. And, like he let me do that, and it was some kind of, I don't even remember who. Somebody hurt my leg and I had a cane and I just kept it. And then they, I just thought it was cool, and I wanted to be. I was trying to find an identity in WWE where it's like, everyone had something, and I was just like generic white guy. I'm like, at least they'll remember me as the guy that had the cane, So I was like, that was the only idea behind it. And then I wound up just like love having it. I thought there was like a swagger to it of having it. And I had it forever. And then last year when they put Zach and I back together, whatever was said in the production meeting when it was finally a done deal, Vince said no more Kane. He said no more woo woo. And he said he wanted us, no more fist pump. And he just wanted us to. I think his words would be taken more seriously. So the Kane ran its course, and I'll be forever. I'll have fond memories of the Kane, but. I also refer to it as the rib that keeps on ribbing because I did it to myself because traveling around the world with that was a complete nightmare. So I don't think I'm going to be quick to bring it back anytime soon.
Do you have like a dream match, or have you had your dream match already in your career, or is there someone that like you haven't been in the ring with yet?
Man, that's a good question. Right now, I don't know who. Oddly enough, I did some interview where I said I was pissed my last indie run that I didn't get to wrestle Shane Douglas, and a promoter.
Oh yes.
A promoter had heard it, and like the week I was fired, he goes, "I know you want to wrestle Shane Douglas. I'll make it happen." And he kept to his word, and I am wrestling him in like 2 weeks in West Virginia. So
that's right.
That's right. Yeah, Saturday, September 5th. It's ASW. It's a drive-in, so it's COVID friendly. But I'll get to wrestle Shane. I don't think it's going to be a 5-star classic or anything, but it's going to be a huge bucket list accomplishment for me being such a ECW fanboy. I don't know out there now. I mean, there's people on TV that I really dig. Like I dig Darby Allin. I dig what he's got going on. Yeah, and I think with our size comparison, there would be a cool, a different. There's not often that I've in my career, especially in WWE, been like the big man in a match. It'd be cool. I got a match this weekend with Joey Janela. I've never wrestled him.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that. So.
And you mentioned Brian Pillman earlier, but you have a upcoming three-way match against his son and Heath, right?
Yes, and for WrestlePro, it'll be me versus Heath versus Brian Pillman Jr. as well. So yeah, that's very interesting. Awesome, man. So that part of being your own boss is cool too. You never know. Like I could last time I was fired, show up and wrestle whatever a guy had been WWE for years, and it's kind of like a letdown. And I could show up and not really even know who I was working with, and be like, "Wow, how does no one not know about this guy? He's awesome." Like there's little give and takes to it that I enjoy. I also like, man, I like kind of now that I'm on Impact and I'm establishing myself as a heel, because I think when promoters book me, I can be like, well, I'm going to be a heel. Then I wasn't on TV, so I literally had to be prepared for anything, like heel, baby, this, that, tag, multi-man thing. Like I was like a jack of all trades, which kept me on my toes and kept me real sharp. But I also like sinking my teeth into this character that I'm, the most professional wrestler, Brian Myers.
Yeah. And I just want to quickly go back to your WWE days real quick, because as a fan, like I think it was really cool that you got to have that payoff, because sometimes when storylines happen, it gets builded up, it just gets forgotten or just gets lost in the shuffle. But with your streak, there was actually an ending to that, which was awesome. And it was the biggest payoff that I feel like could have happened, because it all came crashing down at WrestleMania in front of your whole family. So how did that feel for you when that happened?
It's surreal, but I mean, it's gonna be hard to. I mean, hopefully, my career keeps going here, but it's gonna be hard to have a meaningful, truly meaningful moment like that. I think ever again. I mean, hopefully there will, but the way the stars aligned for that were just so surreal and unbelievable. Just almost. I tried when I was in the midst of the streak, I wouldn't even think about how it would end, because I didn't want to drive myself crazy. It wouldn't be any fun,
Yeah.
I was having more fun just showing up to work, being like, knowing that I was losing and doing the best of my abilities to make whoever I was working with look awesome. Like, okay, cool. It took a lot of that out of the job, which is a big part. Like, oh, maybe, you never know. You show up TV like, oh, today's the day. I'm going to get this big push, or they got something for me. You never know. But I wasn't even thinking like that. I'm just like, no, I'm the street guy. This is kind of fun. And I knew it was building. I knew the more I did it, the more people would care. It got to the point where, like, on live events, and I was still a heel, people were just cheering for me because it was so fun to just be a part of, and I was really enjoying that.
Yeah.
But the payoff and the blow off was just, I'll just, forever be grateful for that, and just look back on like how surreal that was, just how literally all the stars aligned, like, for that, to happen.
Yeah.
Because even less than 10 days before that, I thought I was just going to be another body in the Andre the Giant and not even, be a meaningful part of that, like whatsoever, just be in there,
Yeah.
So pretty cool.
I mean, bro, like moments like that, you gotta, and you deserved it. You gotta kick and scratch and claw at those moments, man. And I don't want to lose my train of thought, but you talked about Shane Douglas. Why'd you like Shane Douglas so much? Because he was also a personal favorite of mine. Because I remember recently I was on a convention with him, and I was in this little van riding over with him. I was just staring at him because I was just so like, man, this guy was a badass. Like as a kid in elementary school, I don't know why I was so mesmerized by him. Like every word he said, I didn't know anything about promos or anything, but I always listened to what he said, and I would always cut wrestling promos like him. Even on the independents, that's where the Bone Crusher came from. I would always make my voice sound deep to sound like him, to sound more masculine, it's just so funny. Why did you like him so much?
So I think the same along the lines as what you're saying. Like as a kid, it's the promo and the look. He's jacked, long hair, the tassels, got the cool girl with him. Like there's that. And then I think as I got older and more involved in the business, I realized there's also the aspect of that he's on these shows. If there's 9 matches, the first 8 have tables and chairs and blood and guts and barbed wire, who knows? But then he would come out in the last match, in the 9th match, defend the World Heavyweight Championship in a wrestling match, and still have everyone's, capture everyone's attention just like all the other ones did, So there's something very commendable about that, being able to follow a show that like ECW was putting on and represent the company as the champion every, night in, night out, and kind of like, put his money where his mouth is, really. He was the franchise.
And like when I first started wrestling, I would always wear my knee pads low because people would ask me like, "Oh, why do you wear them low?" Because I want to be like Shane Douglas, Just a huge fan of him. I didn't know that you were such a big fan of him.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah. He just I don't know. The franchise was the real, he really was the franchise. It wasn't just a moniker that he just was trying to get over. Like he proved it every night. So that's what I think I've always ultimately respected about him.
And speaking of monikers, you have a new one now, the most professional wrestler. I think that's a great one because no one has ever said that before. How did that come about? Was that something that you thought of yourself?
Yeah, honestly, it was like kind of an accident. One of my best friends, Luke Gallows, is always Fred could attest. He's about as carny as they come. He's got his hands in everything at all times. If there's money to be made in pro wrestling, he's trying to figure something out. So he literally, like, the week my daughter was born, asked me to just cut this promo so he could show like these sponsors for something, for some deal he's trying to cut. So I went to my school and I cut this promo, which was basically pretty much a generic promo, but the last line I said was, "I'm the most professional wrestler." And I was like, whoa, just like a light bulb went off. I was like, there's something to that. And I just was making shit up, to be honest with you. And then sure enough, I brought it to Impact and showed them that, and everyone loved it. And like basically the point where they were like, "Well, you're still the Prince of Queens, but let's go with this." And I was like, I see the vision. I do think there's something there. So I'm all on board too.
That's awesome.
Well, Hawkins, I'm just so happy for your success. I mean, we all started from the bottom, but we're still making moves. And thank you for being on the podcast. Before we wrap up, I just wanted to hit you with 21 totally random questions. I've had Zach do it. Tyson did it. Are you down to play?
Mm-hmm.
Time is money, so I know you have 2 beautiful daughters you got to take to. So yeah,
this is my Zen period, bro.
Okay, I hope we're not too loud.
Nah, we're downstairs. Let's do it.
Okay. What's your favorite thing in your closet right now?
My entire ECW action figure collection, autographed by every single one, by every single guy. I don't think anyone else has that in the whole world. I'm pretty sure of it.
When things break, do you prefer to fix it or replace it?
Attempt to fix first, then replace. Broski, straight up replace.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Yeah.
What job would you be absolutely horrible at?
Like any kind of tech support. As you could see, before we started this podcast. I'm literally a caveman. I know nothing. I don't care to know about how technology works. Yeah.
Bro, you could have had me fooled because I thought you and Ryder are like top notch.
Hell no, I don't know anything. I don't play video game. I like literally can't do anything. I can barely stream like wrestling matches that I'm trying to watch.
Oh wait, he did say that you just show up and just do the podcast. He takes care of all the technical stuff. He did say that.
Him and our producer, man. I don't even try to fake it. Yeah.
Okay, number 4. When was the last time you vomited, and why?
When we had that little hiccup in Saudi, and we were kind of delayed. we were delayed for several hours and days. We were all so excited to be in the air that when the party started, it was pretty serious.
Oh God!
And when we landed at JFK, I had it out a little bit there. Yeah.
Oh God, that is too funny.
Yeah.
What's the most disturbing thing you've ever witnessed?
Max McGurk matches at FCW.
Don't talk about my friend, okay? Don't talk about my friend, okay?
First, no, I said that one just for you.
I was closeted, so I always liked him. Like, oh man, he's such a handsome guy, but he was like a brother, and he wouldn't take it seriously, the wrestling, because he was hanging out with the what are they called? The Combo Twins, and then and then he just went downhill. I was very upset when he got released. I was very upset, bro. I took it personal because, like, as a friend,
I'm sorry, Freddie. I'm sorry. I figured that would pop you.
This is funny, bro. If you had the world's attention for 30 seconds, what would you say?
Watch my promo from Impact last night.
Yes. What's your biggest pet peeve?
Pet peeve. Constant negativity. It's okay to be negative sometimes, but constant negativity. Yeah. You gotta cut those people out of your life.
Yes. What's the worst thing you've ever been caught doing?
That night, me and Rex were strippers for one night on SmackDown.
I remember.
We don't have enough time to tell that story, but yeah, one night only.
Okay. What is one thing you would refuse to share?
I don't know. Interesting.
You refuse to share.
My wrestling figure collection. That's mine. Yeah.
What's your favorite swear word?
Shit. Does it even count anymore?
Yeah, of course.
I don't know. Chris Jericho says it once a week on AEW. I don't know.
What is one food you would never give up?
Ooh, peanut butter would be tough.
Bro, we must be like brothers because I cannot live without peanut butter. I go through like three jars a week, man.
My wife just said we had just bought it today, another massive thing of Skippy Natural. She's like, how do we just, I'm like, my daughter loves it too, so I'm like.
Bro, I reach out to social media accounts that have like peanut butter and I say, are you looking for paid athlete ambassadors? And this one company, Nunso, compensates me for shouting them out, man. But I love it, man.
I'm so brand loyal to Skippy Natural. I've literally Ryback introduced me to it in Tampa and FCW, and I have not strayed from it for 10 plus years.
I want the free stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. If you could have 3 people over, dead or alive, over for dinner, who would it be?
Ooh.
That's number 12.
Okay, let's go with Chris Candido, Bam Bam Bigelow, and Shane Douglas.
Wow.
The triple threat.
Chris Candido, are you kidding me? Yes. Chris Candido, he said to me the piece of advice that I always got from him. He was like, unless you're making 6 figures in an organization, no one should tell you that you need to be exclusive somewhere. Like where I started IWF, my trainer was telling me to stay at IWF, stay at IWF. Don't go to NYWC. Don't go to Chaotic Wrestling.
That's the old school thought. Yeah. They're not thinking about you. They're just thinking about, lining their pockets.
Yeah. And Chris Candido gave me that advice, man. Oh, unbelievable. Okay, so you said Chris Candido, who else?
Bam Bam Bigelow and Shane Douglas. So it's the whole triple threat.
Oh, God, man. Okay, 13. What's the worst backhanded compliment you've ever been given?
Put him with Hawkins. He's a good hand.
Oh man, good man. What famous historical figure would you like to fight?
Ooh, that's a crazy one.
I don't know why I threw that in there. I don't know. That's different.
I think that requires a lot of thinking. Let's skip that one.
Okay. Who was your first celebrity crush?
Uh, at one point, really bad Lindsay Lohan. I love Lindsay Lohan, like original, not cracked out Lindsay Lohan, obviously. Yeah.
I was hoping you wouldn't say Kelly Kapowski.
Well, I mean, if we want to go wrestling route, then there's Francine.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay,
The pink Power Ranger.
Kimberly.
Yeah, Kimberly. When I was a kid, that was a big one for me.
I wouldn't know. Okay. What's number 16? What's something you've tried that you'll never try again?
Something to try that I never try again. I don't know. I haven't sworn anything off like that.
Yeah. Skip?
Yeah, skip, I guess. Yeah, I can't think of something that I got nothing.
What was your first job?
My only job I've ever had besides being a wrestler is being a caddy. At this golf course. My brother did it growing up. My dad caddied there growing up. My whole family did it, and to this day, the experience makes I despise golf. Like I want nothing to do with golf.
What was your favorite TV show?
Salute Your Shorts.
Oh, I love that show. Nickelodeon.
Yeah. Is there a personality trait you can't stand?
Personality trait I can't stand?
Yes.
Didn't we ask that already? I said being negative.
Did I ask that on? I don't remember.
Maybe it was worded different.
Yeah, exactly. It's worded different. All right. Number 20, best gift ever received.
My 2 daughters.
Yes. And last but not least, toilet paper over or under?
So I never cared about this. My wife and I go back and forth about it. She likes it over. I just throw it on like whatever's in my hand. Like it doesn't matter. But now I'm trying to be more conscious of her preference. So if I'm not in a rush or thinking about it, I do the over, so it doesn't come from underneath. Yeah.
You're not baby wipes like Ryder and I?
Okay, so I am. Okay, first off, straight baby wipes. I do toilet paper and finish with a baby wipe.
Yes.
For probably 15 plus years, and like it's almost like if I'm like on the road and I'm running out of baby wipes, it's a huge dilemma. Like I have to like I won't even for peace of mind. I have to be like, we have to stop at Target or the day's over. I don't know what to tell you.
That's a perfect way to wrap up, man. I really appreciate. Honestly, I really appreciate you. And these 21 questions were very funny, man. You are just something else. But thank you for being a part of the podcast,
Thanks,
man. Sharing the story. Man.
I miss you. You're a trailblazer, baby. You really you made a big difference in wrestling and especially WWE and the way they treat the performers and look at all of us. So I'll be forever in debt to you and appreciative of what you've done, man.
Yeah, hopefully 2021 we can share the ring, man.
Hell yeah.
And I appreciate having you in our podcast. I'm a big fan of yours, man. So getting to talk to you for an hour has been really cool. And I'm looking forward to seeing all your stuff in Impact coming up, man.
Thanks, man. I mean, well, there is like I said, like 9 weeks of television in the can.
Yes.
It's already done. It's gonna happen.
Well, I appreciate it, Brian.
All right, guys. Take care. Thank you.
All right. That was a great interview with Brian Myers, man.
Yeah. Episode 58 is in the can. Today was a productive day. Again, I had so many superstars to deal with. Him being a guest, and then earlier I did the back to school, virtual with some of my close friends in the wrestling business. So, very productive day. Now it's going to be time to eat in a little bit, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that interview could have gone in so many different directions, man. From action figures to his school to obviously wrestling and everything. He's he has his hands in a lot of things, so he's a multi-talented guy. So it's really cool to talk to him. But yeah, man. So it's SummerSlam week. Can you believe that? Yeah,
it's SummerSlam week, and it's so funny. Another wrestler that I didn't even mention, Mark Henry, he reached out to me and said, "Hey, man, I want you to be a part of my SummerSlam party or something. I guess they're doing." So So I'm texting him. So, granted, like I asked him about that event that I told you about.
Wait, which
That,
event?
no, the event that I had asked your wife
Oh, that
about.
yeah.
Yeah, I had asked him the same thing that I
Uh-huh.
asked Hart. I asked him,
Uh-huh.
and he didn't. And Mark Henry didn't respond. Then he just responded to me, asking me, "Hey man, can you be a part of my party?" Sure, Mark. When? Oh, it's gonna be Sunday. All right, no problem.
Oh, that's
Uh, I love Mark, and I always say I can talk shit about Mark because I just can because I rode his big ass around for almost 5 years.
yeah, you earn it, man.
But what about SummerSlam? The only match I'm looking forward to is Dominic and Seth. That's the only match that I really know of. That's the only match I'm really invested in. Dominic was on the WWE's The Bump this morning, and I
Oh, was
saw,
he?
yeah, he was on The Bump this morning, 7:05 West Coast time, something like that. But
Oh.
yeah, I'm excited for that match. I'm sure they're gonna kill it and tell a beautiful story.
Yeah, like same as you, man. I think that's the only match I'm really invested in because
And I'm always invested in Randy and Drew.
yeah. But with Dom, it's so crazy how a lot of people are mad because this rarely happens when someone's first match ever in the ring is at the second biggest show of the year in WWE, SummerSlam. And a lot of people are mad that they feel like Dom hasn't paid his dues and everything. But
Oh, please. Yeah, keep going. I'm listening.
I feel the same way as you, man. Like I'm not one to like piss on like anyone's success or happiness. Like if something like that happens to them, like man, like I'm happy for them. Like I feel like if that opportunity was in other wrestlers like way, like they'll take it just like Dom would take it. And Dom has been in this business his whole life, man. If you want to talk about like his first SummerSlam appearance, he was like a little kid when like Rey Mysterio had that storyline fighting custody for Dom against Eddie Guerrero. And Dom has been an entertainer since day one because even as like, I don't know how old he was at the time, maybe like 10 or 11, he played the part. Like he was worried, he was sad. It looked like he was scared of Eddie when Eddie would approach him and say like, "Oh, like I'm your papi" and all that. Like his face, like as a 10-year-old kid to grasp that you're entertaining and you're playing a role and Eddie's the villain, for him to grasp that and not look nervous, like I feel like he was born to do this, man.
Yeah, he's paid his dues. This is sports entertainment. We're in the entertainment business. We're in the television business. So it's storytelling 101 at his best. So who gives a shit about experience? He's getting that experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm getting my experiences in different ways. I've been to WWE. Now, eventually, announcements will be made about other things I'm doing coming up very soon. So like we take different paths in our lives, and it's a beautiful story that's being told. So for someone, oh, he hasn't paid his dues, well, he's going to pay his dues after he whoops on Seth Rollins.
Yeah, man. And man, he paid his dues with the kendo sticks. Damn. Like all the bruises that he got on his chest and his back, that's brutal. But that is a match that I'm super looking forward to. Oh, but also, did you hear that on Friday they're gonna try out this whole like fan virtual experience thing, the Thunderdome? Did you hear about that?
Yeah, I saw that they're going to be moving the shows from the Performance Center to the Amway. So how's it going to be?
I have no idea, but apparently they've already been doing this for certain sport events, but I haven't seen it, and I don't know what
Oh,
it's gonna look like.
is it like the bet? Because I've seen like the NBA, like they have the screen in the background, and they have different screens with people on it, so you can be probably featured
I
on
think
a
that's it.
show.
Yeah, because I haven't seen
Um,
that personally, but that's what they're gonna do, and they're gonna test run it on SmackDown this Friday. But apparently, fans have to like register to be a part of that, so to save their spot.
yeah, so it's almost like because when you look at it on the NBA, it looks like that there are fans, but it's like 100 screens. You know what I mean? So if they get something with like a bunch of screens to fill up that area where the audience is normally, I don't know. It is what it is. It's the new norm.
I have to look at it, man. I don't know how that's gonna look. That's intriguing to me, but
Hey. It is what it is,
Yeah,
baby.
they're making it work, man. So I'm still super excited. It's still SummerSlam. I hope there's gonna be a few surprises that they're like, that they're gonna pull off. Like last year when we watched it together, Edge was a surprise, and he speared Elias. That was pretty cool. So who's to say what WWE has under its sleeves this time around, man? We'll see.
Well, 10 years will be official that the Nexus lost to Team WWE. 10-year anniversary here and gone. So 10 years flies by, but I'm like wine, baby. I age gracefully with time. So don't count me out. And you haven't seen the last of Mr. No Days Off. I can assure that.
Absolutely, man. And I think that's a great place to wrap it up. This has been such a fun episode. Great interview with Brian Myers. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode. And if you're listening to us on iTunes, make sure you guys give us a 5-star review, like what you hear. And also, if you're watching us on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe and give us a thumbs up and leave a comment and let me know what we can do better. And until then,
Episode 58's in the can, baby. Block the hate. Salute the great Arnold Telega Arta.